All right, YouTube, you may remember, of course, that Ted Cruz was not born in the United States. He was actually born in Alberta, a province within Canada. He was never eligible to actually become the president of the United States, and many people launched an occult, Memetic assault upon him. In the wake, literally the day of him dropping out, we have link in the description. Massive Canada wildfire spread south, forcing more evacuations. This is Fort McMurray up in Canada has been essentially destroyed. Dry, stagnant conditions, and then a whipping up of wind. Took a fairly small fire, apparently magnified it many times. 88,000 people have been evacuated. The city is basically lost because it came in, jumped the road, I think jumped a river as well, and just continued to spread. And if you look at videos of Fort McMurray right now, there are like these little grass fires that just randomly pop up everywhere from the cinders that are falling from the sky. It's almost like a storm, except that it's raining ash and cinders and other debris. It probably looks a little bit like hell if you're actually there. So Ted Cruz, unfortunately, brought this upon the province of Alberta. It is spreading south. I'll read a little bit of this. The fire started on Sunday in Canada's oil sands region, and many oil sands projects have cut production. You know, you can't really operate an oil rig or something like that when you've got wildfires around. It just doesn't sound safe to me. I think, if I remember correctly, in the wake of the war in Iraq, a lot of oil rigs were actually set on fire in order to destroy the economy. The Emergency Operations Center has moved 300 kilometers south, and the evacuation order has widened as flames spread past Fort McMurray. So it's still on the move. People are saying there's nothing really that they can do about it. The conditions don't allow them to even try to contain the fire. It's moving quickly. It's already fairly large. It's already engulfed a fucking city anyway. So you have almost 100,000 people evacuated in this region. And this is the far north of the province of Alberta. I mean, it's nowhere near Calgary. But will it continue to move and perhaps destroy Ted Cruz's actual homeland, his birthplace? Maybe so. I guess it depends on his actions to stop this memetic assault that people have started. Reminding people, of course, once such an attack has started within the occult, once it's been implanted in enough minds, it's no longer within the hands of those that started the actual occult attack upon a person or a place or a thing. It's no longer something they're even capable of stopping because it spreads in a viral method, in a viral way. That's really how the psychological side of the occult works. I covered this in a previous video. You may have noticed, of course, the Hey Raphael video that I made was a video that's in line with memetics. Most people didn't seem to quite get what it was, or they thought it was funny or something, but it implanted itself in their minds. They were thinking about it. I'm sure some people thought it was funny enough so that they thought about it thereafter. That's exactly the underlying basis of memetics. 8,000 evacuees currently in camps north of Fort McMurray will be resettled in southern urban areas, officials said on Thursday. I mean, you've got thousands of buildings destroyed in this area. It's basically a total loss. I'm not sure why anyone would want to live that far north anyway. They said, oh, it's above average temperatures, and it's still looking, like we look in maybe late February or something, and it's, the beginning of May. I would think that'd be miserable. I'm assuming people go up there, for part of the year to work on the oil projects there, and they get like their 60, 70 grand a year, and then they spend the coldest months maybe in Aruba or something like that. It's probably a good way to live. I imagine it's fairly hard work. But yes, I mean, you could view this as the results of a memetic attack on Ted Cruz, because that is indeed where he's from. And people haven't ignored that. People were praising Keck, praising Baal, praising all of these other pagan and demonic entities, as well they should. I think people are beginning to notice. The internet's the perfect conduit for the occult. Far more perfect than I ever could have envisioned when years ago I said, well, it's helping to spread occult literature. It's helping to spread movements that are fairly small. I never realized that through social media, memetics itself would essentially become the dominant occult form, even more dominant than like the spreading around of like Renaissance literature or something. That's great. Someone like myself can make a living editing and writing works as well. Self-publishing them, that's great. But as far as on social media, you get an image that most people find simply humorous or confusing, and they spread it around, and it actually has an occult message. Well, Ted Cruz is a loser, and that's essentially what the message of this attack is. And it doesn't even require anybody to lift a finger. That's the beauty of it. It's essentially an occult energy form. So yeah, Canada's getting screwed, blued, and tattooed. I think Trudeau, probably he'll have to divert some of the funds he was using to pay off his Muslim friends in order to actually fight the fire and resettle people. Normally, when we think of resettlement and evacuation and Canada in the same paragraph, we're talking about them evacuating third worlders to Canada and resettling them somewhere where they're not welcome, especially under Trudeau's administration, where he loaded his cabinet with unqualified individuals simply on a multicultural basis. He's a laughingstock. There's a reason he gets along with Obama. His policies ultimately will be similar. He's not even a leftist, by the way. He's just a multicultural globalist like all of them. Like Ted Cruz, who has more in common with Obama or Trudeau than he does many members of his own party that have sort of dropped the neocon line. So it's pretty funny. Not funny that people are, in the way of the fire suffering, but people haven't ignored the fact that this is where Cruz is from. That's his actual homeland. He's not some deep-fried southern Texan. He's originally this sort of nerdy, scrawny, whiny Canadian trust fund boy with blue blood running through his veins. So, maybe his second home, maybe his birthplace is in the path of the flames and will get engulfed or something. That'd be rather amusing. That's about all. Peace out.